and I think that we have now fixed it. So let's restart. And this will be forever in the YouTube, so we will enjoy it later as well. So Pekka Abraham, a professor of information systems and software engineering at the IT faculty of University of Jyväskylä. And today we are physically in a place called Startuplab, which is a place, physical facility inside university where we educate and do research on startups. And we have now established a new series of talks. So every 2 weeks you will see us live on YouTube, but also here locally. So now we start with the startup talk on a super interesting topic. In 2 weeks' time, you will hear on Pitch Friday, you will hear pitches coming from Jyväskylä on newly born startuppers. And I'll brief you later on that. But hey, let's get started. We are very delighted to have here Dr. Erol Kazan. He has joined University of Jyväskylä IT faculty just a few weeks ago. And let me say a recruit of Professor Ture Tuunanen, and Ture is there. Thank you. And Erol has made his thesis and research. He has built his career on understanding cryptocurrencies. As I understand also, he has been some fortunate person that he has been able to also benefit from that. But hey, here today, let's give a big round of applause and hear about very interesting talk on the cryptocurrencies and huge business opportunities. Huge. So Erol.
All right, thank you. Welcome to my presentation, and thanks for the introduction. So I will talk a bit about my research and give probably some kind of insight that could be used for you as inspiration for creating your own research, your own startup whatsoever. And so it all started with the 2009 with the Bitcoin paper, Satoshi Nakamoto, which is either a man, woman, or group, which we don't know, had created something very novel. That was the first time in history we could have created digital scarcity, because in the past you could only replicate content. You could duplicate it like pictures, movies, music, but you couldn't create scarcity. And with Bitcoin, it was the first time possible to create something unique that you cannot duplicate. That was very valuable, digital scarcity. So blockchain is basically a ledger that keeps tracks all of your transactions. I don't have to go that deep. Think, who's familiar with blockchain? Okay, good. So, as Pekka has pointed out, I started early. With my 2 minors, with my supervisor as well. It was a butterfly in 2014. As we are just curious in a sense, how does it work? So again, put it in our offices and see how it works. I've created some bitcoins to buy some research books. Today, probably I could hire my own research assistant if I had not spent this. But so this is a small thing that we have done in our office. And of course, right now it's a very industrial thing because you need mining farms to be productive. So what is Bitcoin miner? Any ideas? What is going on Bitcoin miner?
To be solving those difficult mathematical equations to create the blockchain.
Yes, but that sounds very high level, right? So how can you make it more simpler? Check your Sudoku. So basically, it's trying to, there's a puzzle, and the machines are trying to solve the rows in a sense as soon as possible, as quick as possible. And if they solve the puzzle, they get rewarded. For instance, new fresh bitcoins in a sense. And now, of course, these transactions are getting, this is one transaction, and they're going to one block, and these blocks are getting attached to different blocks. And they have this chain of blocks. That's like blockchain. And so, why is it so interesting from a payment point of view? For instance, existing payment systems are looking like this. You have 3 or 2 parties who are doing payments. Like, for instance, we have here a MasterCard or Visa or doing the payment. transactions. With Bitcoin, for instance, or blockchain, any blockchain systems, you're removing the third parties here on top. So you have a much more direct connection for doing transactions. So basically, you're removing these parties on top with this one. So you're trying to, you're getting rid of the intermediaries. So the talk is about 5 business opportunities. I should say huge opportunities. That's right, 5. So when I'm looking at all digital systems, in a sense, are, I'm more looking into digital platforms. And if you look all the services that you see, like Apple, Google, Microsoft, I call them digital platform services. And it's not just one thing. You have to be careful how you look at digital platforms. And so it's not just one thing. It's actually 5 things. Because a platform is generating data, has services. They're somehow connected to a network. It has some kind of an operating system. It also has some kind of a physical device. But of course, not all companies are going to have 5 layers. So they say we are not good at communication. So Apple is cooperating with AT&T or Visa, MasterCard. They have their network layer. Because Apple is not interested to have a network layer. So just to illustrate, so Apple Pay. So you have the data, you have this application Apple Pay, the network, Visa, AT&T, the operating system, and physical devices. So that's how I see digital platforms. It's not just one thing, it's more granular in 5 layers. So starting with content, most open blockchain systems have the benefit of having the transactions transparent. So you can see what kind of transactions are available outside. So that means, for instance, Google has, for instance, using Ethereum data, providing a data set for developers to experiment and track some transactions. So it's very easy for developers to experiment and make some data insights from that. So for you, it would be interesting, how can you use open blockchain data for your own services? For instance, some companies like Chainalysis, the Danish company, they are tracking Bitcoin data to identify money laundering, black markets, and so on. So for you, for instance, it would be interesting to see if there's some, can you create insights from open blockchain data? Is there something that you can derive from that for research, for businesses, or for governments? The next one are, of course, the services. So what is interesting about blockchain services is it's basically programmable money. So it's not like dump money that you have in your pocket, banknotes. So you can have create some logic in creating sophisticated services that are somehow using money in a different way. So you can create conditions, if then release the money to service X, Y, Z. So it's much more sophisticated. So one way would be, of course, smart contracts. So can, for instance, devices or cars have their own life in a sense and charge themselves. And so one smart contract is one opportunity. If you don't have the skills to create some your own smart contracts, you can also team up with, let's say, service providers like IBM, for instance, as a blockchain system. So if you don't have the resources or knowledge, you can easily create your own blockchain. That would be, of course, with private. Too fast? No? Okay. The next one is network. So somehow, if you're offering a blockchain service, you have to somehow get the data out to the people, to organizations, to the end users. So you can use the internet or use mini satellites. That was one way. Or, was interesting for me as well, here in Finland, there was this guy, I think 2015, there was a Finnish guy offering, he's using TV signal to send Bitcoin transaction data. So it was a different way of submitting data to different users or businesses. So I don't know, what would be a different network, like Wi-Fi or Bluetooth? It's a different way of transmitting the data. The next one is system. I was thinking about how can you make use of system in the cryptocurrency domain, because that means does a cryptocurrency have its own operating system in a sense. And the only thing that could come up is create your own coin. So do we all have a pickup coin, for instance?
Of course.
The question is, of course, is there some kind of value for that, right? So,
of course there is.
because why should I have a pickup coin? So what is it offering to return, for instance? Is there some kind of benefit? And I mean, I would buy, let's say, Apple coin or some Microsoft coin or whatsoever. But for what is actually already happening is, I mean, would you think that cities have their own coin as well? Like Jyväskylä coin. Does that make sense? Yes, no? Okay. Actually, it's happening in South Korea, for instance. So South Korea's capital mayor is trying to figure out what's called S coin, to use their public services in ways that are helping make it more efficient, rewarding their users or the citizens, for instance. And so the question is, would it be something also available for Jyväskylä, in a sense, rewarding good behavior or for free parking space or whatsoever? So in a sense, how can a coin, the currency, help the municipality to be more efficient and more inclusive? And of course, we have the device there, the last one. So these are typical devices. Somehow you have to, you can't just be purely digital if you have the currency service on blockchain. But if you want to also cross the physical boundaries, you need some kind of a physical device. So you have here ATM machines where you can put your euros and you get the currencies out. Or you are a merchant, you try to offer a cryptocurrency payment because it's cheaper, or you have more different customers because not everyone has a credit card or is not allowed to have a credit card because they don't have the profile of owning a bank account. The cryptocurrencies, of course, open cryptocurrencies. No one can reject it, so you're very free. Another way would be, of course, having kind of like an exchange implement on your app, where you just do your payments like this, or you're opening some features. So, what I also like this is about smart devices, because if you have a smart device that is somehow connected has a cryptocurrency logic inside, it can also do all sort of bartering, trading in a sense in itself. So it's offering energy, or it's offering its washing machine time, for instance, to someone. So in a sense, they can now barter and accept payments. So I just was thinking about some areas of use cases where you could actually easily apply cryptocurrency or blockchain logic. And for instance, the shared economy would be the most logical thing because it's already distributed. Shared economy is open. And of course, the governance of shared economy, also the payment part, is very difficult. And cryptocurrency and shared economy goes quite well. So the question is, how would you design such kind of services? So basically, it's actually, if you want to accept reality, in a sense, it's starting with blockchain. If you want to implement your own services and your own research. And I think it will stay here, and you have to just decide if there's something that might be applicable to your own work. That's it. So I think we have more questions, comments, ideas.
When we get started, what are you planning to do? Are you going to stay in the area, or what is your research going to be about?
Well, I like to look more into the communities also as well. So because in open blockchain communities, the community is a very strong factor of how a blockchain currency is shaping the development, the strategies. And there's a lot of disinformation, fake information to influence, let's say, the price of the currency, blockchain, for instance. And I want to see how do communities shape the technology of the blockchain, for instance. That would be the community part. And also, I would be interested how do commercial entities can issue their own cryptocurrencies, and how such a business model would look like. For instance, do they have what is the typical launch of their own coin that is legally okay, and how might make it sense for them. Another thing would be, I mean, I would like to see how the central bank, for instance, is reacting to that. How does it embrace? Because it is basically a bit of a competing technology. And if more and more users are using this type of technology, and more users, businesses accepting this type of payment, they trust more, in a sense. And then there's a trust competition happening. So do I trust the central bank, or do I trust my big company that I have a long relationship with? So the question is, over time, of course, we're getting young people are accepting technology but quite easier. So the question is, where is the tipping point for accepting alternative currencies for paying your rent, paying your electricity, paying whatsoever, because it has value? And the other person or the other business owner is accepting this. Then, of course, there's a competition happening with fiat money. But of course, central banks, for instance, could embrace this, for instance. For instance, I think a stable coin, for instance, would be a solution for central banks. They guarantee the value of a coin, which is backed by fiat money. And then, of course, this cryptocurrency could be applicable to smart contracts. So they're actually transforming their own money for the shared economy, for the Internet of Things. Because right now, the money that you have in your pocket is not really easy to use in this kind of environments. With blockchain technology, for instance, they would lift up their own fiat money to a new level. And that means also new use cases.
All right, I think that we open the floor for other questions, please.
Yes, please.
You talked about scarcity at the beginning,
Yeah.
And I guess one of the primary reasons why central banks aren't clamoring to get on this is because they like the ability to print more money or to control the amount of money so that they can better control their economies. Are there any digital currencies or cryptocurrencies these days that have that ability to kind of expand the amount? In other words, kind of do what central banks are doing, so that real world central banks could actually use the convenience of this and still maintain the responsibility that they have to manage the economies that they are in charge of doing.
So I'm referring now to the open blockchain systems, because with the private one, you can print whatever you want, right? But with, let's say, for open blockchain systems, there are cryptocurrencies that have a fixed cap. Like Bitcoin is maximum cap is 21 million, which will be mined over the next decades till 2140. Then supply will stop. So there will be no more than 21 million Bitcoin. Then, of course, there are other open blockchain systems, cryptocurrencies, that have some kind of inflation implemented in their system. So over time, there will always more coins issued. So there's a natural inflation of supply programmed into the protocol.
Is it a fixed rate though, or is it somehow controlled by an organization or a
community in this case? So the developers propose this kind of inflation rate about the open currency, and the community accepting this, businesses, exchanges, end users, then it becomes some kind of accepted standard. But of course, other actors try to influence this.
What are some of the coins that use that type of system?
I think Ethereum has not decided yet, I think, how many cryptocurrency coins it wants to issue outside. But for instance, Bitcoin is fixed, but Ethereum is one has to have some kind of a natural inflation of this supply. Our question. I mean, I think if I go back to this one, this is a very interesting use case for the government. How can public institutions make use of this type of technology to make their service much more accessible, much more efficient? And so I don't know what your background is. I see some students here and some research.
In a way, I think that we have it. We have this in Finnish is liikuntaseteli thingy for those who use it. So it's or lunch coupon or something like that. But it's like a currency. You're giving something that has some value. Be easily seen replaced by such a thing. It doesn't have to be Jyväskylä coin, it could be, I don't know, Finland coin.
But Jyväskylä, I mean, there could be some kind of a trial.
I'm stuck with Pekka coin, so I have a bit of it. But yeah, but I think this is very. So how do you like concretely going forward? You know, we're in the startup lab, so this can happen.
Yeah.
How would one go about doing it?
So if you're a startup, I would probably, with the help of Pekka, go to the municipality and ask them if you want to do some kind of trial and see, because there might have some issues with, let's say, parking or some kind of inefficiencies that are in the city, and try to see if they can have a blockchain angle to that, because it's very easy for you to create your own coin, because you go there are services like Hyperledger, IBM, that make it very easy for you to create your own blockchain systems. And the question is, you don't need that much developing resources because it's already open source. You have just to connect the dots. So if there's, let's say, it's the city of Jyväskylä willing to collaborate with you, you have an interesting use case. So because not every city is perfect. If you see some kind of problem in the city, you have to ask yourself, can blockchain help with something being more transparent, much more faster, much more accessible, so the citizens of Jyväskylä feel more included?
Yes, my name is Alvar.
Yes, thank you.
I teach blockchain technology here in Jyväskylä, and I'm part of our research group. We have a blockchain research group here, and actually what we have done is, if you know palveluseteli, with Ethereum, we had done a system or a coin that is a Ethereum coin, and you can kind of think as a palveluseteli as a coin, just that South Korea is doing. And some other things that we are doing, we have now we have around 4 different projects. We are trying to put, for example, tutkintotodistus into the blockchain in a way that we can be secure that there is no fraud in that area. And we also have one project in the energy sector working right now. And if you're interested about blockchain technology, about cryptocurrencies, crypto economics, smart contracts, I invite everybody to just take stairs upstairs, and you can find us from there.
Okay, thank you. I think the lady was here.
Oh, yes, just launching a new coin. A friend of mine told me that they are, or he's somehow involved launching one coin. Have you heard of that? The name of the currency is OneCoin. So how does it actually happen? And if it's not in this kind of a city environment, so
Don't put OneCoin in
One
this.
coin is a bit scammy.
oh, yes. So tell more. Because I
I will
was,
stay away from one because it was a bit opaque how they launched this. So, but
yeah, that's why I'm interested of that
Okay.
case. So because I got an impression that something's wrong there.
Yeah, OneCoin is not a decentralized system at all.
Okay,
It's just
yes.
a fraud.
So I have to say, cryptocurrency landscape is a wild west. So there are so many. It's a quick way to make money because startups, they have this initial coin offerings. They have some of their own proprietary cryptocurrency, and they have actually replaced venture capitalists because they get Ethereum or Bitcoin, and then sometimes collected 40 billion.
Tell us about because we have been starting to hear ICOs.
ICOs, yeah.
Yeah, so I see those coming more often.
Yeah.
So how does that work, and what are your thoughts on it?
It's an excellent idea, but if you're operating some legal restrictions there, because in the US it's a security. That means you have to register as a security at the SEC. Otherwise, if you don't do this, you can go to jail. So because you have to have a legal framework of a country and see how ICOs are supported. If you do it legally, there's no issue. But if you do it like in your home basement and have your own coin, which is very easy to do, you're in legal jeopardy. So you have to figure out what is the legal framework. But it is very easy for a developer, startup, whatsoever, to get funding for your service, program, startup, whatsoever. But please clarify the legal framework in the country. Otherwise,
Do you know the Danish system as you work there? So
the problem is there are not that many Danish ICOs, but I know, in Asia and the US there are many ICOs. And there are also already legal cases where people have been already jailed for that because it's a Ponzi scheme sometimes. So you want to avoid this type of risk. Just clarify the legal framework for you. But
Alva, do you know about this legal structure in Finland?
Yeah, right now in Finland we cannot do ICOs.
I'm so surprised.
Yeah. But if you want to do it, you should go Estonia.
I was thinking about that. Estonia is quite advanced with the let's say digitization and digi governance systems.
But Nicole, I think the idea of ICOs is great. It can be done by our organization. So ICOs, for instance, Apple could do its own ICO, for instance, and it would be easy, have its own coin. So I would support the idea, but clarify the legal framework. That was all.
Yeah, go back to the subject of Citycoin. I see a huge exploit there because if the coin is about to grow, you need people to be interested into that coin. And if the city is launching it in the small city like Jyväskylä, there is the problem that we have like this S group here, the biggest market group, and if they are interested in mining it, they could easily, get the maturity coins, so they will then have the possibility to change the history. And if the city wants to block that, like first mining, let's say 30% of the coin or something, when they release the public version, then basically the city would have the leverage over the people that they would really easily change it. I mean, because if it's not growing fast enough, that it would split like decentralized, then there will be a really huge problem with the small cities.
If you're talking about the supermarket chain,
Yeah.
probably I would assume they would go for a private version because it would help them, their customers, to use their product services. And then it's up to the supermarket chain if they have a collaboration with other businesses.
Yeah.
But I don't think they will go for open type of thing where mining is, because there will be some kind of closed solution. And then it's up to the supermarket chain if they want to, let's say, have business relationship with other organizations. But I don't see any problems for the chain, for instance, have some kind of a loyalty points type of thing, and then they can redeem these points for something else. Let's say free parking time, for instance. That would be one way.
Thank you, Errol Kasa.
Thank
All right, so thanks for viewing, thanks for being here. We will stay here, we can continue the discussion, but we will now close the feed. And for those watching this in 2 weeks' time, we have 6 startups pitching right here, 11:30 Finnish time, 10:30 CET, Central European time, which, by the way, Finland is going to be part of in the near future. So we are moving to Central European time, hopefully. Anyway, thank you for that. And now we can stay here and discuss, and Errol is staying here. So we reserve a bit more time, but there's more interaction. We can have one-on-one discussions. So thank you.